Hey guys, it's Rick here from gamesbandit.com.au, pew pew, coming at you with a brand new video on Star Wars Shatterpoint. Today's update is going to be about the Australian distribution of Ahsoka Tano, the Padawan Early Access model, and yes, we have been successful in our application. We've been elected as one of the 29 stores to distribute the model as we see fit, as well as hosting a launch event for the game. Good news. Really glad all the hard work has been paying off. That's what it all comes down to. So in this video, we're going to address a few things. The distributor's point of view on how it was pushed towards the stores. We're also going to talk about how Games Bandit may or may not have been successful in our application, what may have been the differential factors as to why we got elected, and how are we going to distribute them? Because that's the big question. That's the underlying question I think most people are going to have for their stores that they're going to elect to purchase from. How are they going to distribute their models? It's going to be very interesting to see how that all comes out in the next couple of months, especially on the launch weekend itself. So let's backpedal a few steps here because we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. So just to remind everyone, if you may not have seen our last video on the early access model, or you may have been possibly living under a rock and you haven't seen all the Shatterpoint posts about this so far, there is going to be an early access to Ahsoka Tano. It's going to be very limited in supply across the world. Specifically, you had to be part as a store as the Hobby Next program. You already had to be an existing store within that program in order to get elected for the launch event. And Australia doesn't have any stores that fit that criteria. We just don't have that partnership with Asmodee or Atomic Mass Games. However, the distributor, upon finding out this information when it was accidentally leaked to the public through a Polish store that posted that they were going to get early access, and a knee-jerk reaction from Atomic Mass Games to kind of clarify what was happening across the world with this access model. The distributor, the local distributor, as you may or may not be aware, it's Let's Play Games. They're going to be the sole distributor for the game in Australia and New Zealand. Reached out to Asmodee directly and were successful in receiving 180 units. Now, 180 units seems like a lot, but really it's not, right? So you can already see as part of the Star Wars Shatterpoint Australia group, there are over 400 members, right? And if every person wanted the Ahsoka Tano model just in that group alone, it's only going to suffice less than half, let alone all the new people that are going to join the group eventually, or all the people potentially out of the group across New Zealand and Australia. 180 units isn't a lot, so they had to be extremely selective in who they gave the units to. And the application process was pushed out through the distribution social media channel. Pretty much you had to be launching an event that weekend, like a launch event, a demonstration. You had to also demonstrate the game as like a Let's Play initiative. Not to be confused with Let's Play Games because that's their name, but an actual Let's Play model of the game. So, you know, consumers could view it and potentially buy from there after seeing the game and the gameplay in person if they're there or walking by or whatever. Originally, they pushed out 30 stores would be selected, put in your applications. There was a range of questions that were pushed out that you had to answer, and it pretty much came down to a number of criteria that they would have selected. I'm not going to put words in their mouth why they would have selected Games Bandit. I can give you my impressions of why I believe they went with us. There's going to be a lot of stores that are going to be happy, and again, a lot of stores that aren't going to be so happy with the choices that were made. But that's pretty much the chessboard that's in front of us, and we've got to work with what we have on the boards. 30 stores were originally going to be part of the program, 6 to each store, so 30 times 6 is 180. However, they just announced posting the stores that came successful with the application that only 29 would be selected because they wanted an extra 6 in case of any got damaged, malfunctions, or when you open up the order if they were defective. So they've got an extra 6 up their sleeve for that very reason, which I think is, look, it's good and bad, because if a store that was successful in the application got 1 or 2 and they were damaged upon receiving them, then they're going to be out of their allocation. But that also means another store's going to miss out, which, it's not good. It's not a good feeling to miss out. So let's first of all go over Let's Play Games' point of view in all of this, because I think that's what it's going to come down to, and what many people may not realize is that Let's Play Games has been partnering with Asmodee and Atomic Mass Games and FFG to be the sole distributor in Australia. Traditionally, we've had many distributors across the games that they supply. We've also had many distributors supply the games in Australia simultaneously. I can remember a time when there was 5 distributors in Australia selling the Atomic... Well, it wasn't Atomic. It was some of the FFG games before. Now, we've gone down to 1. So it's going to be a concentrated partnership between the two. From LPG's point of view, there's a lot of... it's great for them because I believe Atomic Mass Games are going to be very successful in whatever product line that they push out. They've already got a track record with Marvel Crisis Protocol. I don't think Shatterpoint will be an exception to this. I think it will go a long way. I think that's great news. As a sole distributor, they'll be able to crack through all those sales and manage that relationship. But also, on the flip side of that, there's a whole lot of responsibility and eyes from their business partners at Asmodee about the way that LPG are going to operate. So Let's Play Games needs Shatterpoint to be successful. It needs the communities within Australia to thrive. It needs to have a good launch to kind of illustrate that that partnership decision that they've made between each other was the right call. At the end of the day, business is business. People may get all, emotional and say, oh, it's all about the toys and they're nostalgic. They're 70s and 1980s viewing of the original trilogy. They've got an emotional attachment. This is purely business. When you think about Asmodee, you got to remember that the owners of Asmodee these days is an investment firm. The owners prior to them were also an investment firm. The owners prior to them were an investment firm themselves. These investment firms purchase out entities like Asmodee. They chop and change them. They try to make them more successful. That way they can sell it to the next person, a bigger branch that's able to buy in. Let's Play Games needs these launch events to be successful. They need to be able to showcase with their partners whatever stores they've selected. They need to put on a good show. So in their selection process, definitely would have come down to the point of Let's Play Games saying, okay, of these 29 stores, who do we fundamentally know are going to be able to run a very good event and they're going to showcase it online, and then we can push that back to Asmodee to kind of say, yep, things are going well. Now, why was Games Bandit successful? It may go hand in hand with the reasoning that I just provided with Let's Play Games' viewpoint, is that we already posted a launch event. We had already had intentions to have a launch event, to have a demonstration, to introduce new players into the mix from the Central Coast Leagues Club in conjunction with the Central Coast C4 board game community. You can see the event itself down below. I'll push a link down below. I'll also push a link down below to that community page as well, in case you're curious to find other games, because they do host a lot of games in the Atomic Mass Games product line, as well as FFG, that they're pushing constantly. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that they actually host the biggest Star Wars Legion group in Australia, which is a pretty big deal. We already had an event established. I think what that would have illustrated to Let's Play Games is that we've taken the initiative, we've been proactive in trying to push the game and get things running. Is there an ongoing concern that we will not be able to run an event? I don't think so. If we've already got RSVPs over 10, if we already have the event lined up, if we already have the organizers lined up, if we already have certain things about the event queued up to introduce new players as well as attracting players to come to the launch event itself. So from that point of view, there was really no risk, right? No one else in the area had published an event at that time when the announcement had come out. So I think that kind of gave us a bit of a tick or a +1 in that box. The other reason possibly could have been is that we've been pushing through community channels, our own business channels, our own email chains, our own weekly newsletter, our own YouTube, to kind of push for Shatterpoint to be successful, push the media, push the sales through, get people aligned with what's happening in our local region. So that would have gone a long way as well. The capital side of it as well. And this is a bit of a risky business to a degree. So in order to be part of this program, you needed to ensure to guarantee that you were going to order a minimum of 10 core units, core sets for Shatterpoint. It's not all that much. What we did in our application is that we went over tenfold of that number as a minimum on take for Games Bandit. Huge risk with that because we've never sold anywhere near close to that in any other core set of any other game over its longevity of its life. Sure, we may do 100 sales of Marvel Crisis Protocol among the many expansions, but the fact that we're going to be hosting 10 times the minimum requirement, in addition to a large quantity of the extra selling items, for example, the Hello Obi-Wan Kenobi pack, the Count Dooku pack, the terrain packs, we've pretty much guaranteed that we will take that from them and put that as a minimum order straight off the bat. And that's one of the things that we always tend to do with our partnership with Let's Play Games that we've developed over 5 years, is that if we say we're going to do something, we go and do it. We're not inconsistent. If there's a certain range that we're ordering over and over, we will stick to that minimum number, even if that means Games Bandit's going to lose out at some point. If, for example, and let me give you a raw example. If, for example, we ordered 50 Moff Gideons from Star Wars Legion, and we only had 10 pre-orders at the time, we would still stick to that 50, and that would become our problem, right? We would order that well in advance of the pre-ordering time. We wouldn't wait the week before, and I think that consistency goes a long way with any partnership that you have with any distributor in any business line, any logistics line. If you continually prove yourself in that realm, that's going to be an added bonus when these little things come up. The other thing is the distribution model of the units that we pushed, right? So one of the underlying application statements was that with the distribution of the models, the stores that get elected, it's not mandatory, but they should be able to showcase that they can introduce more sales, or they should be able to promote OP kit events. Now, in my thinking of those two key requests, the OP kit requirement to make Ahsoka Tano, the Padawan Early Access unit, as part of a OP kit prize doesn't work in this realm, I think, because most people that want to get the Ahsoka Tano, they want it on release day, because we know within 12 months of the game launching, that model is going to be able to be purchased. It's not limited edition, it's only early access. Limited early access, that's all it is. You'll eventually be able to buy it. If we run an event 6 months later, like an actual Shatterpoint tournament, 6 months after its launch, there's no point having that as an OP kit item if other people already have it and they've purchased it. The value of it goes down quite dramatically. And I think part of our push is to have it in people's hands as part of the purchase that they make if they're successful in the raffle in receiving it. So the only other key item we wanted to push was sales. How do you sell more with the Ahsoka Tano distribution if you were to get it? And this kind of lines up perfectly with how other people had pushed to us how we should distribute it if they found us in our shoes. A week ago, we said that if we were only given 5 models, how would you push it to everyone? How would you distribute it amongst your community? Would it be your most loyalist purchases over the last couple of years? Would it be random? Would it be first and best dressed? And the most, or any other reason, the most consistent response was do it by random draw. That's what I'd say 80% of people leaned on, or it was a combination of your most loyalist and also a bit of randomcy. So what we've done is the model that we've made is it's going to be distributed through raffle. The more pre-order items of Shatterpoint that you purchase, the more tickets you get to go into that raffle. And to clarify, let me read them out now from the list. If you buy a core set, you get 5 raffle tickets. If you buy the Hello There General Obi Kenobi Squad Pack, there's 3 tickets. Twice the Pride Count Dooku Squad Pack, you get 3 tickets. Either of the terrain packs, you get 2 tickets each. The measuring tools and the dice pack are 1 ticket each. So obviously there's a there's a larger weight on purchasing the core set by itself. What I have found is that most people are purchasing the core set. They're also purchasing with that the 2 squad packs, but not necessarily the terrain or the other 2 accessories. Which I think is pretty standard with any release, right? Now, when we push that to our as part of our application, we kind of said like, look, most people are going to buy those 3 items. However, if we do a raffle upon ticket entry, if they buy these extra items, it may be enough in order to secure an extra sale here or there. The weighting of it may not necessarily line up with that, but I think you will find there's going to be probably a small population of people that will buy the extra items just because it's going to get them an extra chance at winning one of the Ahsoka Tanos. If you were already on the border of potentially buying them, then you're probably going to buy them up front. So, you know, there's that as well. Part of the application made it extremely clear that we were not going to sell the units directly to consumer. I think that would be absolutely ridiculous because that, you know, people are going to be able to make an easy 100, 120, 140, 150 bucks potentially each unit. We'll have to see how it enters on the first and second market, depending if we get to that point. I think you will find that there may be people who end up getting them from stores and saying, well, I'm not in a rush to play with this. I may want to use the funds I get from that to pay for something else. So they may try to flick it off for 100, 120. I don't know. It's not a trajectory we wanted to go down because I think that's not a good look. And I think it doesn't help with your sales per se. Like, in the long scheme of things, it's not a very good business move. I think short term, you may have the benefit of getting more cash up front by selling it directly to someone, but it's not the way how we would want to do things. And again, it goes back to what the community responded to us, and that was to keep it fair. Fair is equal opportunity, but not necessarily equal outcome. So equal opportunity is everyone going into the raffle per, you know, the Shatterpoint that they order, and then the outcome being completely randomized. Equal outcome would mean that everyone would get an Ahsoka Tano. That's just not going to happen. I wish that was the case. Maybe we'll only have 6 people who pre-ordered the game, and therefore we end up only having to sell it to having to pick out 6 tickets. In saying that, if we were, because people are going to have multiple tickets, if we were to pluck out someone's name and then pluck them out again as a second Ahsoka Tano allocation, we'd have to redraw the second one. We want to keep things distributed among everyone. We'd hate to see one person win all 6. That's not what we're about. So, as part of the application, we clarified we would not be accepting money for additional raffle tickets. It's just not something we wanted to do. We're also not going to make it cost anything. So even if you win the draw, we're not going to add a bill of 30, 40, 50, 60 bucks. It is what it is. If you win, you get the unit. We'll put it as part of the pack that we're going to send out with your order. Easy done. In saying that, there's going to be 2 different raffles that we're going to be doing. So the first one's going to be the overall sales. Everyone who purchases from us will go into this draw. We're going to allocate 4 units. So that's going to be a big chunk of it, effectively 4 over 6, or 2 over 3, or 66.666% of our allocation is going to be going to the overall sales raffle. So if we'll do a live, I think what we're going to do, getting a little bit of ahead of myself, but I've already got a bit of a vision of what we want to do here. I think it's a good chance to do a bit of a media push as well. What we'll most likely do is a week before the release date is we'll make it the deadline for anyone to make a purchase, which again is in about 2 to 3 months. If it's June, we'll get to May, so 3 months time. We'll make the deadline for anyone that makes the pre-order. We'll then print the tickets. We'll then put them in some sort of a bucket or a bathtub, depending upon how many tickets and pieces of paper we get, and we'll do the random draw. We'll probably even call people who win. We'll call them on the spot, tell them that they've won, let them know, get their opinion, see how excited they are, and go from there. Hopefully they answer their phone. So that's one thing I'm thinking of. We'll make it a live event. I may have some guest people over my place, maybe the Nick Wards, the Luke Kennellys, the Jeremys, anyone and everyone who'd be keen to come over, who's more than welcome to come over, and we'll do it live. get you guys to pick out 1 ticket each or something. I'm not really sure. Again, I'm just throwing out ideas. I want to make it so it's a live stream so we can kind of interact with the audience in the chat. I think that would be a really cool ordeal. We'll do that in advance of the actual release date. That way, when we do send out their order, they're getting their early copy. We've accounted for 4 of the 6. What's going to happen with the remaining 2? Well, what we're going to do, and we've already alluded to that we're going to be making a event and a demonstration day. We're going to be allocating 2 of those units specifically to the event itself for those who attend. Should be really good. Let me talk about that event a little bit more specifically. It's at the Central Coast Leagues Club. It's on Saturday the 3rd of June, which is the day after release. If you have made an order, we will bring your order to you at the venue. It's going to be great. Again, the bistro will be open so you can get lunch, you can get drinks. We'll be there all night probably, middle of the day onwards. If we do get over, you know, playing 5 to 6 hours of Shatterpoint, we're probably going to put on the footy and watch a couple of the games because the NRL season kicks off as well. But I doubt that's going to be the case. I think you'll find most people are going to be there anticipating to play or get familiar with the games. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to have as many demonstration setups as we possibly can. One of the requests as part of the application was to have 2 demonstration setups. We're going to be having as many as we possibly can, as many as we feasibly can. Trying not to over-deliver and under-promise here, but we understand if 20 people attend, you don't want 20 people standing around 2 boards because, yeah, it's a bit cozy. So we're going to try to get as many pushed out, work with as many of our partners and guys and girls in that line as well, who will probably make an announcement on a little bit later and give them the credit when the event kicks off. We'll have as many demonstrations as we've got going. Come down, collect your order, learn the game, play with the game, get familiar with the club. The Central Coast Leagues Club is a great venue hosted by the C4 Central Coast Gaming Community Club. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, biggest Star Wars Legion group. There's probably going to be an alignment where they've got a very, very big group of players for Shatterpoint. If you're not familiar with the club itself, I strongly recommend that you come out for the day, introduce yourself, get familiar with some of the guys that go out that way. It's a fantastic place to play. It's air-conditioned, spacious, good community vibe as well. Great community vibe. The leaders in the group are very good. Daniel Downing, there's Adam Brown, Pablo, all those guys are absolutely fantastic. And there's a lot more of them that are going to be at the event on the day as well. I'll be there, obviously. So speaking specifically on the draw, if you do order and you attend, you will be getting the same allocation of tickets for that specific draw. And if only 10 people attend, then 2 of those Ahsoka Tanos, you have a 1 out of 5 chance, mitigated by how many tickets you actually get through your Shatterpoint purchases. There's always that variable as well. But yeah, if only 2 people attended, I don't think that's going to be the case, but if only 2 people attended, you pretty much guarantee that you will get 1 of each. So specifically, we wanted to reward those who attend the launch event itself, create a bit of hype, create a bit of community vibe. I think we'll also add some few things into the raffle. I've got a I have a few things that we might add. For example, this is a Padawan Ahsoka Tano in pop form. I don't know if we'd go down that line because I think if you would have been one of these but not the early access, I think, I don't know if that would go down too well. But there may be some other things that we can enter or kind of contribute towards the draw to kind of create a bit more vibe so people feel as though if they've come out, they may not necessarily win the early access model, but they may win something else. Either way, it's going to be a great time. I'm looking forward to seeing all the guys and girls down there again. Great vibe, great community people. They go a long way in promoting any game that they play. They're very open-armed. Get on down there. You'll have an absolute ball. But I think that wraps up the video. I think that wraps up the video. Let me know your thoughts. I know when we published the video previously about the distribution, people were suggesting that, look, there's potentially a lose-lose situation because however you distribute them, someone's going to feel left out. And it sucks, guys. I know If we had one for every pre-order, that's how we'd absolutely do it. There's going to be less winners than there are. There's going to be less winners than there are people who don't get it, which sucks. Don't know what to say when we get to that point, but it's part of the game. It's a bit of hype, and at least someone's getting something, right? You know, there is a realm out there where no one gets anything in Australia, and we're completely left in the dark. What I'm hoping for, if we really set a strong precedent in this country, if all 29 other stores put on a hell of an event, push up some social media posts, show a lot of coverage, have a lot of people attend them, then that's going to set a really strong precedent for LPG to go back to Tasmania and say, look at this. This was huge. We are not some underdog, you know, underdog second tier, third tier country with regards to community vibe and playing these games. And then maybe the next time something like this happens, there'll be more stores involved, there'll be more products available, and I think it will go a long way in general. So, hoping for a really strong event. Thank you everyone for the support. It's absolutely amazing. Please hit that like button down below if you enjoyed the video. But yeah, I'm wrapped. I'm overwhelmed. Very joyous. I was a little speechless when initially I saw that we got that email, which is great. But yeah, looking forward to it, guys and girls, and hopefully see you soon. Let me know your thoughts. Take it easy. Whoosh.